Ladies and gentlemen, this is an article that came out in Bloomberg Business Week, September 14th, 2018. A world with fewer babies spells economic trouble. Absolutely, it does. Because, no matter how much you may claim you're hanging on to the wealth, there's going to be less wealth because the working class is going to be fewer in every single country, except for Africa, of course. Africa, they're still reproducing. Forget the prophecy saying overpopulation will starve the planet. The human race is approaching the point where it's no longer reproducing enough to expand the global head count. The world's biggest economies, the US, China, Japan, and Germany. It's already happening or will soon. Economists say these countries could see slower economic growth unless they increase their working age population by accepting immigrants, possibly from regions with higher fertility rates, like parts of Asia and Africa. Lower fertility rates, the number of live births per woman, could also threaten safety net programs like pensions and health care. 1. How big is the drop off? Fertility rates have dropped globally about 2.4 this decade from 5 in the 1960s, according to the World Bank. That's getting close to the rate of about 2.1 required to keep the world's population stable in the long run. Many wealthier countries, particularly in Europe, are well below 2.1. Several nations, Moldova, South Korea, Singapore, shares the world's lowest fertility rate at 1.2. Wow, they're not coming back. Not coming back, not with numbers that low. Most developing nations have much higher rates, with many in Africa at 5 or above. 2. Why has this happened? Lots of reasons. With advances in agriculture and medicine, people are living longer and far fewer children are dying young. Increasing urbanization means families don't need as many kids to work the fields. More women are delaying marriages and children for work and education. Economists have also found an association between low fertility and higher incomes. Once a country's output per person passes $10,000 annually, women tend to give birth to no more than 2 children. Education and government policies, meanwhile, have sharply reduced births among teenage girls. 3. What will this do to the world's population? The United Nations calculated the world's population as of 2017 at 7.6 billion people, a number it projects will grow to 11.2 billion at the end of this century, after which it could begin to fall. But a lot of countries are going to shrink before then. With a fertility rate of only 1.6, China's population will drop 28% by 2100, ceding the title of world's most populous nation to India, the UN predicts. With the fertility rate of 1.4, Japan population will plunge 34% by 2100. The US headcount is expected to keep growing despite low fertility rates of 1.8 because of large numbers of immigrants. Through government policy could change that. Well, So you're depending on immigrants and not the people that were born here. So that says a lot, ladies and gentlemen. You know why they're depending on immigrants? Because they're already anticipating a lot of these folks are going to be so diminished in population size. It's going to take the immigrants to carry this society along with blacks and Latinos, who they're trying to desperately keep out of this article. But there's no keeping us out because we're not dropping in population size. We're not the ones. It's economically can still expand, but the pace over the long run would be limited to the speed at which productivity output per hour worked is rising. Since 2007 through 2009, recession productivity gains have been relatively meager, making low fertility rates an added problem. If fewer people work, there's less income to go around. Fewer workers also means less tax revenue for retirement and health care programs. And that means governments might have to cut benefits, raise taxes, or borrow more, pitting the old and young against each other. 5. Where is this playing out now? Japan employers often struggle to fill job vacancies, and they're doing the same thing here in the US. I mean, look, they're claiming that, these population declines are going to happen until far out in the future. We know it's happening now because in the US, they can't fill all jobs. They're having a terrible time struggling to fill these job openings here. And it's not all opioid addicts either. Some of it is, not all of it. Spending on healthcare and pensions has swollen Japan's public debt to more than twice the size of its economy. The International Monetary Funds have estimated that the country's annual economic growth could be 1% point lower for the next 3 decades because of Japan's aging population. That means the country's economy forecast to expand 1% this year and next may stagnate further. 6. What can governments do? Immigration can help, but not all countries are willing to open their doors. Japan, historically wary of immigrants under Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, wants to allow more foreigners for limited stays. Abe is also encouraging automation and more women in the workforce. Germany's fertility rate is at 1.5, is the highest in decades thanks to a recent immigration surge, but also to adoption of family-friendly policies, including raising parental leave allowances. But in France, which for years has had pro baby policies such as cash bonuses and tax breaks for parents, the fertility 1.96 rate is at its lowest level since 2005 because they can't have babies. They are barren. Okay, anytime you're offering cash for people, and this is all around Europe, by the way, it's not just France. All around Europe, they are offering cash to women that give birth, and they simply can't do it. Okay, they've been offering this now for a while. This did not just start, and their populations continue to fall. That tells you it is indeed a fertility problem. They can't reproduce. They can't do it. Money on the table or not, they can't do it. 7. Can China reverse its expected population decline? Not likely. No, because it's been 20 years and they've been enforcing that one child rule for over 20 years. Even if they start having a lot of babies now, they're not going to catch up to the rest of the population that did not enforce those policies. Not likely. China changed its rules in 2016 to allow 2 children and now may remove limits altogether. While that may encourage some families to have more babies, it won't give a major boost to the national fertility rate, according to Chinese demographer Kai Yang. And not only that, remember, there's not enough women for the men to even marry now. So, how are you supposed to boost the population and you got this huge population of men and very few women because they chose to abort their female babies? Among the obstacles, high cost, living costs, long work hours, and surging childcare expensive. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's a worldwide problem, but we know it's not going on in Africa. They're even in this article, they can see they are producing better than anyone else. But all of these other nations and, America, if you got to depend on immigrants to boost up your numbers, then it says you're not doing so well. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. These folks are out of here, whether they like it or not. What we are looking at is a worldwide extinction of certain populations on this earth. That's all we're looking at. And they can't stop this from happening. They can't. Please tell me what you think about this Bloomberg Newsweek article where they were pretty blatant in giving out this information. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I will see you on the next video. Peace, family.